Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the career illustrator known as Amir Zand. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at the scene of science fiction. We're also going to explore the evolutionary act of creation. So let's jump right into it. So at first glance, we met with a series of prismatic pieces making up a platform over this blank void here. Our first impression is likely one of curiosity as we just wonder what exactly is happening in the mystical piece before us here. And so you'll notice, of course, the majority of the elements are placed in center, right? That draws our eye well within the work. We also see this further reinforced by a light on dark accent. We talked a bit about that void, right? That allows that to just shine and define itself to the densest degree possible. And so colors in our composition are quite interesting, right? This is what we call a complementary color scheme. This, of course, has orange and then you have blue-green. Orange is going to directly contrast that blue-green base there. So it's going to fight for the viewer's attention. And of course, the rarest color is always going to draw our eye towards it by nature of that contrast. And textures within this work are quite interesting, right? We see this rather rough facings on our prisms standing in direct contrast to the perfect smooth nature of that obelisk in ascendant frame there, both of which, of course, immerse us well within the work before us. And so with this in mind, where have we ended up? The setting of our scene is quite strange to consider, right? A majority of the canvas is blank, and we only have these prismatic platforms that make up the composition in center here. And, this obelisk is a symbol which occurs time and time again in Amir Zand's work. I have some additional pieces in here. I'm going to bring those in real quick and see what we can learn. Alright, so I brought in 3 additional works from the original artist Amir Zand, and the reason I did so is you see this prism or this obelisk in so much of his portfolio, right? In the piece on the right, this was the first work I ever showcased and studied by Amir Zand. You see this lone hero standing in front of this cracked obelisk. In the work in the upper left, of course, a sci-fi composition, we see this lone hero, in discovery or exploration of this massive red obelisk. And finally, the natural work, you see this emerald obelisk in a clearly cyberpunk sci-fi type of setting, no doubt displaying the natural realm. But all in all, you see this prism or this obelisk across so much of Amir Zand's portfolio. So I just wanted to bring those in and connect that to the original work that we studied today. I absolutely love to see it. And so we ask ourselves, where are we here? The setting of our scene is quite strange to consider, right? A majority of the composition is this blank void, but regardless of that, it draws our eye to these platforms of prisms set in center here. And of course, these blocks draw the eye time and time again. In creating this work, the original artist Amir Zand collaborates with a well-known generative artist known as Han. He's a well-known generative artist in the digital art scene, and he works with blocks quite frequently, so quite fitting for the piece before us here, right? And so when we create a work of art, we're always met by a blank canvas, right? But despite this, the genesis blocks must be made nonetheless, and eventually built upon like a chain linking one after another. We also see this lone subject far within the composition in the ascendant frame there. He appears to have reached the golden goal as he finally attains that there. And in many ways, the act of creation is miraculous in and of itself, right? When we create, we often do so with an ideation or a vision in some way or another. And so in many ways, the act of creation is a miraculous act in and of itself, right? We create something and then we must build upon that one after another. And when we create, we often start with an idealized vision in some way or another. Of course, after that, we have to build upon that and kind of evolve and flow with that as well. And at times, your piece may not turn out exactly how you pictured it, and yet you flow nonetheless. But despite this, we must recognize that creation is an act of evolution, so just keep moving and keep creating and you'll eventually find your way. This is a profound piece, I think there's no doubt about that. It was an absolute pleasure to study it. I always love Amir Zand's work. He pays very close attention to, of course, the detail as well as the symbolism in all the scenes he creates, so I really hope y'all enjoy it today. So like I briefly mentioned earlier, the work before us is a collaborative composition with contributions from the generative artist Han, with some digital illustrations from the original artist Amir Zand here. All in all, a very memorable work and a profound piece at that. I really hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked about so many different things from these blocks and creative evolution. We talked about the obelisk. We connected it to some of Amir Zand's portfolio. We talked about this void, the contrasts of color, so many different things we hit on today. I truly hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all enjoyed today's episode, make sure to check out the original artist Amir Zand, doing some amazing stuff in the world of digital illustration and illustration in general. So I really hope y'all enjoyed today. Like I said, if y'all enjoyed, go check out the original artist. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.